I said pan. Very well. I'm going to make something to do panning with. Pan 2 is such an abstraction, I would call it, because if you lock or don't want to lock but hold your command or control key down if you're on a PC, you can see that pan 2 is not an object. Well, you can see that it's built up of objects, so it's actually what I would call an abstraction. And you can see the things I'm going to be interested in, well, I can see, is my signal in on the left. That's important. That's the thing that's going to be panned either left or right. And I've got my some kind of 0 left, 127 right. I think I'll use that. And a fade time. I'm going to make my fade time instantaneous, and to do that I'll make a new object called load mess, and with an argument 0. Load mess just loads whatever you type in after the load mess. It just outputs that when the patch loads, and in this case it'll load 32 times or whatever, how many copies I have. And here's my panning value. I reckon I could probably just stick this last outlet, my pan value, straight into this second from the right inlet on the pan 2. And here's my signal that's been amplitude scaled already. I stick that into my pan, and then I need a couple of outlets. So I mean a couple outlets for my poly tilde thing I'm going to use. So I'm going to use out 1 for the left outlet, and I can just duplicate that by holding the Option or Alt on my PC key down while I click and drag to get an out 2, and there is my thing that I'm going to use for the poly tilde. The only thing that I'm going to put in here that I don't have yet is some way for this thing to tell poly tilde when it's busy. So I'm going to use this poly, which connected to anywhere that amplitude happens, and it happens out of this line anyway. Anytime that this line in tilde is outputting a 0 signal, this poly will tell the poly tilde that it's loaded into that this voice is free, and so it's ready to be ready to be used. So that's as much as I need, I'm hoping. So I'm going to save this as something on my desktop where I love to save stuff. I'll call it Gran. Gran, as in G-R-A-N. Okay, save. Now I'm going to make a new patcher, which is going to be where all the magic happens. And I'm going to make a new object in my new patcher, poly tilde, with my Gran, the thing I'm loading in. I'm going to make 32 of those. Likely as not, my max window, which you can hit at Command M or Control M to bring up the max window. Likely as not, Max is complaining that there is no patcher named Gran. That's just because this hasn't been saved somewhere where it can see it. Generally, Max will only see things within its own directory. So the patch won't see anything unless it's in the same directory. So we'll call this something else. Granulator. I don't know. You can use your own words. Probably mine being so repeated might be confusing. If I type in any part of this patch name here again, if I type in the numbers 32, we should get 32 copies, and I can tell we did because we just got outlets. I guess the first thing I could put up here is an easy DAC. We always need our easy DAC. So we've got a left and right into our easy DAC. And what I'm going to use to create these, to send in these values of start, duration, volume, and pan, are tables. Actually, the first thing, let's make a new object up here. We know we need a buffer, right? Because we were talking about something in here. We're referring to a buffer from this play called Snacks. So I do need a buffer named Snacks, and I need it to load in some sample. So a sample called Anton.aif will do just nicely. Again, Anton.aif is in your Max search path, hence the reason I'm using it, because Max knows where it is. Okay, so I'm going to make 4 tables, one for the start point. All right, let's make a new object table, and maybe I'll make a comment here C on my keyboard, so I know that this is my start point. Just this is so I can, again, so I don't get confused. I'm quite easily confused. So I'm going to duplicate this comment with the table, selecting them, holding down Option on my Mac or Alt on my PC to click and drag that. I might change this so it says duration, and I might make a copy of this because I do need 4 of these. I can hold down, drag across the 2 of them, hold down Option or Alt on my PC, and lo and behold, now I've got 4 of these things. And this is going to be my volume. That's what I'm calling it today. And pan is the other value I'm going to be interested in generating. The only one of these that I might want to change out of the value of 0 and 127 is the start point. If I click on the snacks, we can see that this buffer is about 2,000 milliseconds long. Not really, but that's close enough. So in my inspector for this first table, for my start point, I'm actually going to set the size of this table to 2000. So there's my, yes, very good. Now if I look at my table by holding down my Command or Control if I'm on my PC, you can see the size of my table is now 2000 elements long. Now I'm going to trigger the output of all these things using a metro, so a new object, metro. I'm going to just stick in a 20 millisecond argument in there. I make a toggle to turn on my metronome. We've done this for quite a lot. Yes. And now we'll just connect up the metro outlet to the left inlets of all these tables. And we're getting close here. We're going to pack these values together because, as we've seen in our poly tilde here, we unpack them as a list of 4 values, so we do need to pack them together here as a list of 4 values. New object pack 0000. That's all my start. There's my duration and my volume, and then there's my pan. And then to get these things to be allocated polyphonically, I need to prepend or give this message, put the word note in front of it. So I'm going to make a new object here called prepend and type the word note, so that basically that's telling polytilde give this list to whichever voice is currently free in my polytilde. Alright, now I can go and open each one of these tables to give some stuff. Here's my durations, here's my start points, my volumes. We'll start with, I don't know, this is all statistic stuff, so maybe here's some pan. We can do some on the left and some on the right, and not really very much in the middle. Maybe a little bit in the middle. Yes, that's good. I can turn this thing on and turn on my metronome. Alright, I can change the durations of these grains. Very short grains will sound more kind of, I don't know, like not cornflakes, but rice bubbles. Anyway, that's my kind of, that's Barry's take on granular synthesis. I hope you join me on my next tutorial. I'm sure it will be a blast.